Okay, and it's still not showing up. Okay, there you go. I
Now it's
think
showing, yeah.
now it does. Okay,
Just on the slideshow mode, please.
yeah.
Uh, Hi, Ashlesha. Okay, so son is in grade 12 too. All right.
Yes,
Uh,
hi.
cool. Yeah, so you should find today's session useful. Um, Ramya and myself, we are putting this together. We're dividing this into two sections, actually, the emerging destinations. And we've divided it into West and the East. Today, we're covering the West, which basically is going to be Europe. We're considering that Canada and US are the traditional study abroad destinations in the West, and Europe is the more emerging one. So that's what we're going to talk about. Also, Canada, US, and UK. So we're not covering these three, the usual destinations. We're only covering the other countries. And then we're having another session on the 14th where we're going to cover the emerging destinations in the East, which will be Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Japan, Korea, and so basically Asia. Uh, yeah. So, Ramya, you want to start?
Yes. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. So who we are is I'm Ramya Modukuri, and we have Sapna Goel, my partner, and both of us are college and career counselors at schools, and we've been doing this for about a decade. And prior to that, I come from a corporate background. Sapna comes from a psychological counseling background and a nonprofit background. And I think, as having worked with families and students through our schools, and also trained a lot of other career counselors, what we felt was there is a need for parents also to have more of these sessions, because schools, while they cater to students, I think the number of sessions we're able to do with parents often is limited by various factors. So Guiding Teens is really our it is a not-for-profit. It is a platform where we are hoping it's not just us doing these sessions and bringing you resources, but also we are aiming to really build a community where you learn as much from your peer group of parents who are going through the same thing or who have gone through, helping their child with their future planning. And so it really is non-commercial right now. Because we both have full-time jobs, this is really our way of, it is really very much a community initiative. It is not something that, we're trying to cross-sell any services to you. So hopefully, the idea is to really bring you unbiased information. So I think some of you have put this in, but we'll ask again the other question. What are some questions you have, or what is one question that you have about your child's future planning, or in the case of Aditya, about your own future planning that that is top on your mind today? You can put it in the chat box. You guys can unmute and say that's fine either way.
Yeah, hi. My question is, considering if a child is an Indian citizen, a non-American citizen, right? What are the best options looking at the geopolitical scenario currently? Especially knowing that the OPT is doubtful in the US, right? And UK also is going through its set of challenges. What are the best destinations for academics?
Okay. So I
And
think we will get. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I wanted to add a point here. I'm specifically looking for English speaking countries, while I know there are very good options where if you have a certain level of proficiency in another language, there are certain destinations which are really attractive. But since my child is in 12th already, and I don't think he would wish to spend time in developing that language proficiency at this point of time to get admission. So that's another precondition that I'm looking at.
Okay.
Right.
So I think some of that maybe will be covered today, and
Uh,
we will.
Yeah. So, and we can talk about this towards the end, actually, because
Exactly,
the
yeah,
geopolitical
exactly.
situation is a larger question, right? And
Yeah.
yes, we will
Okay.
definitely talk about this.
Yeah.
And Aditya says that he's just trying to figure out which university will cater to my academic and extracurricular interests. Definitely, Aditya. So through the presentation, hopefully you'll find something which is of interest to you, and we'll be happy to discuss it further with you.
Right.
Right. So I think let's start so we can get
Okay, so
through.
today, as Sapna said, we will cover Europe. I think we will try and keep these sessions crisp. So we will aim to leave the last 20 or so minutes for questions. Europe in gen so today we're not covering UK. So the countries we're covering are here dotted on the right. So we will have basically Ireland, Netherlands, Germany, France, Italy. Um, Switzerland. And largely, and this is just a this is just an overview,
Got
right? And we'll deep dive into each country in subsequent slides. But largely in Europe, you have public and private universities. And when you talk about especially places like Italy, Spain, Germany, and France, it's the most cost-effective ones are the public universities, as it is with, I think, almost around the world, really. But even for international students, the public universities in these countries are free. Private universities, the cost does vary. In the next slide, we will show you the range. Um, and of course, in public universities, the majority of the programs do tend to be taught in the local language, whereas private universities have larger English-speaking options. Um, the next is, I think, in some of these places, especially places like the Netherlands, you have this concept of research universities versus universities of applied sciences. So when they say university, that's basically it's a finer point, but it does affect what kind of things you can go on to do. So the universities or the research universities are ones that offer the sort of more academic programs and the kind of programs where eventually you may want to do a master's or a PhD and so on. So it sets you up for progression within a very academic discipline. And universities of applied sciences are more grounded in that whole practical, vocational, professional training, not in the way we talk about vocational training in India, which tends to be, looked down upon, but there really the idea is that it is a lot more rooted in practicality. So applied sciences universities would lead you towards a pathway where you are directly joining a job. And there are, a lot of nuances, and we have attached resources in the next slide where you can go and research more about this, right? Places like, and when we come to Netherlands, we'll talk about university colleges. It's a sort of nice offering that that country has. In Europe in general, unlike the US or even the UK, where extracurriculars are given some importance, the the evaluation in most of Europe is primarily academics based. There may be some universities where you have an additional test or an interview and things like that, but even those will be academically oriented. Um, there is many of them have this personal statement concept, which is really more about, you talking about your interest in the subject, why you want to study the subject, and things like that. Language proficiency will cover this in the individual country slides and also the post-study work visa. So this is really just a very, very broad overview. In terms of the costs, so Europe in general, if you compare it with destinations like the US or the UK, it does end up, at least the tuition cost is pretty reasonable. As you can see, the living costs, so these are all in Indian rupees and lakhs per annum. So the cost in most of these places is, pretty reasonable, and that really remains one of its attractions. Uh, as a destination, as a study abroad destination. Of these, as you can see, especially towards the bottom here, starting with Germany, you have quite a range between the public and the private universities, and these are again averages. So the higher end can go up quite a bit more, but you can see that most of these places, the public universities, I mean, it's hardly anything, right? You just have to pay some sort of like I forgot what it's called, but it's like
Almost
a
like a registration fee that you pay, and
exactly,
against
yeah,
which you get uh travel discounts and stuff like that.
yeah,
So basically you get public transport system tickets and stuff like that.
yeah. So we'll having said that, I'll hand it over to you to Sapna to take us through.
Alan?
Oh, am I doing Ireland? I forgot. Yes, I will continue this with this one. So Ireland is, it is for if you're looking for English speaking programs outside of the UK, it remains all the programs. I mean, it is an English speaking country, so it is predominantly, all the courses are taught in English. It does have very, very high quality institutions. Some of these are mentioned here. You have Trinity College Dublin, University College Dublin, the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland. So many of these do feature in the top, 50 or 100 of the popular rankings. And so the quality of education is really high. Both Sapna and I have students studying in Ireland, and we know many other counselors whose students are studying there. And overall, it remains a very, very attractive option because of the high quality of education and there are no language barriers. The economy, if you have been following, has been doing pretty well, and we'll show you a little bit of that in the next slide. But some of the top programs, it does remain quite attractive for students looking at computer science, engineering, but also, economics, business, and things like that. I have a student doing medicine at Trinity College, and that is a really good option too. It is very selective, of course, like medical programs in most of the world, and it's hard to get into, but it is a viable option for Indian students. Post-study, so you do have for a bachelor's degree, it is a 1 year stay back period during which you can stay back and search for a job. And the nice thing is overall the employment statistics and the economy itself is pretty strong. And you have a lot of multinational companies, especially both in tech and banking, who are who have a big presence in places like Dublin. And so the employment prospect is it's some of the best in Europe. So these are general employment figures that we have got from different sources. So it's a 75% employment rate within 9 months of graduation for international graduates, and it doesn't separate between bachelor's and master's, so that is not data that we are privy to. But anecdotally, it does seem like students are able to navigate that pretty well. It's not to, scare you or anything, but because we did say, we are trying to bring you non-sales, unbiased information. I mean, I think one of the things to watch out for recently is that there are housing shortages in Ireland. And this is not necessarily for recent graduates and things like that. I mean, we were just talking before this that kids are able to navigate around it. It's just something generally to be aware of, that the rents are pretty high because there has been this whole influx of in the last 5, 6 years, this influx of multinational companies who do a lot of hiring, and then there's just not enough housing to go around. So that is something just to keep in mind. It's not to say that is a very um, that's not to stop you from looking at the destination, but something to be aware of. Over to you, Sapna.
Yeah. Hi. So about France, one of course, everybody knows France is like the main destination for luxury products, for fashion, and it's very, very well known for those. So fashion, design, culinary, all of that very well known. But it's also an excellent destination for studying business and management programs. They have some really famous business programs going for them. There are also many English taught ones, especially in the private sector. Besides that, France actually has been rolling out the red carpet for India, especially in the last 1 or 2 years. Lots has happened. Um, they have set up, I think, about 10 Campus France offices all over India. What these offices really do is they promote French colleges in India, and they make it easy for Indian students to apply. So you literally can just walk into a Campus France office and they will help you identify a college which works for you, help you put all the papers through, also help you with the visa process. So it does become quite easy. Uh, we can move to the next one. Also, what is lesser known about France, which in fact I was very surprised that since the last 2 years, that there are some excellent engineering programs that they have. There is a particular college, École Polytechnique, which is like the IIT of France, I believe, has some decent English taught programs. Very, very difficult to get into though, but that does exist. When we look at post-study, now France offers 1 year and plus an extension of 2 years. So after you complete your degree, you can stay up to 3 years, and it's not very difficult, especially now with the new policies between the two governments. What they also offer is what they call a 5-year circulation visa. So if you are a graduate from a French college, you get a circulation visa for France, and you can go there for 5 years. You can keep going back and forth. They have certain rules there. I think you can't stay more than 4 months at a time, but it's pretty open-ended. And then, of course, because it's a Schengen visa, you can actually have access to all of Europe. So that's a very interesting thing that they've put in there. Um, Overall, the employment rate seems to be good. A couple of colleges that I know I've had a couple of kids go to and with excellent results. There's one particular one called Sciences Po that is worth mentioning, especially if a student is interested in international relations, economics, political science, any of those kind of programs. Absolutely one of the world's leaders in those programs. Then, of course, for business, we mentioned HEC, EDHEC, ESSEC, all of them excellent. And then for engineering, we mentioned École Polytechnique. For design, you can't go wrong with France. They have got amazing institutes for design. So I think that would be, yeah, in terms of industry, technology and IT are doing well. Luxury goods and fashion are doing very, very well. Finance and banking, consulting, audit, and aerospace and engineering. Actually, one of the few countries where you should look at for aerospace, because they have one of the biggest manufacturers in the world. And Yeah, and again, I think with India, the connections are very strong now, and I believe there is a little a thing going where they're going to be putting up a unit in India for doing some of the manufacturing here. So if you've got a degree in aerospace or any of that kind of stuff, it could work very well for you, even in terms of finding a job in India. I think we can go to the next one.
Yeah,
Again, the
I think
housing
the only thing to
remains.
add is, it is not, I think unless it's a very sensitive, like defense contract and things like that, the visa, international students, it should not necessarily be an issue. I think there's just more
Yeah, no,
paperwork involved, more,
yeah,
that's it.
in UK that's a bigger issue.
Yes.
Not so much in France. We also wanted to talk about, I think, about the housing shortage, same as, I mean, all over Europe, it's the same situation. Most of these colleges offer their own boarding facilities, so it should not be a problem. Yeah, I think we can move on. Okay, so Germany, again, another very attractive country, especially because public universities are almost free. The problem remains that in the public universities, there are very few English taught programs, and even if they exist usually at the master's level. At the undergrad level, you will find very, very few. Um, they do have certain language barriers that they've put in place. You will require to have a certain level of comfort with German language. Even when you go for an English taught program, they may sometimes want to see an A1 or A2 level. But if you want to study in German itself, which is how you're going to really cut costs drastically, you will require up to a B1 or a B2. There is a system there because Germany has 13 years of schooling and India has 12 years of schooling. So in a way, our school graduates are short of 1 year. And for that, they have a system in place, what they call it a Studienkolleg. I may not be pronouncing it the way they do, but basically it's like a gap year program that they have. Uh, the student colleagues are run both in the public domain and the private domain. So there'll be private student colleagues which are run, there'll be public ones. Depending on how prepared you are, there'll be an entrance exam for the public ones. If you feel you're well prepared, you can take the public one, they'll be cheaper. The private ones will be a little more expensive, not too much, though it's about 10, 11 lakhs, usually 7, 8 lakhs for some of them. You complete your Student Collect program, which is a 9-month program. The Student Collect itself, you have to indicate what is it that you want to study. So if you want to study an engineering program, the program that you study in the gap year is going to be geared towards an engineering degree. Basically, they will teach you some German and they will prepare you for the engineering program. So if you want to do medicine, the program will be a little different. So once you finish a Student Collect program, there will be another exam that you take. And that exam will then, the results of that will then entitle you to enter a university. So it is a a process, like a multi-step process, but it is doable. This is for public universities. For private universities, usually you can go directly after your 12th, even if you have an Indian degree. But if you have studied IB or you've done the A levels, then you may not need to go through the Student Collect process. You can go, you will be eligible to apply directly into the college. For Germany, of course, the main programs are engineering, computer sciences. They're excellent in natural sciences and math and management. So engineering does remain the top program. In terms of colleges, there are several kinds. So they have the research universities, they have those universities of applied sciences, uh, and yeah. So they have these different kinds of universities. You need to do a little bit of research to see which kind of university you want to apply to. The public universities are absolutely gold standard. You can't go wrong with them. The programs are excellent, of course, if you qualify for them. The private universities, you need to be a little bit more careful um, about which ones you're getting into. And it is good to see the accreditations and get some reviews from students who are already studying there. Yeah, we can go to the next. So the post-study work visa, you get up to 18 months. And you can then, this is the time that you get to find yourself a job. If you get a job, then you can stay on longer. If you don't, then you have to return. Overall employment rates are very, very good. Germany is, though it's been a stagnant economy for the last couple of years, it is one of the strongest European economy. And it has traditionally been easy, I mean, relatively easier to find jobs. The main industries are automotive, technology, finance, banking, engineering, healthcare, and pharma. Language barriers do exist. Especially for even if you do find an English taught program, you have to be prepared mentally to learn the language so that you're able to kind of interact with everybody around you, especially if you're looking for internships, finding a job, or if you are in a course like medicine or something where you need to interact with local populations, learning the language will become essential. Most universities offer you language courses within the university at no extra cost. So it is something, if you're open-minded about it, you can definitely learn. And then the one more advantage of doing, even if you do the private university route in Germany, at the undergrad level, meaning you pay, say, roughly about 10 to 15 lakhs a year to get your German degree. At the master's level, you will become eligible for the free programs because by then you would have enough German to kind of apply to any of the master's programs in the country. So that is an added advantage. You want to
Okay.
take?
Yeah. So, moving on to Netherlands, this is also for our students, it has been a very popular destination because of the high availability of English taught programs. Again, it's high quality education. Many of these universities, even some of the smaller ones, if you look up, they have Nobel laureates on their payroll and things like that. So it's a destination really that I think many years ago when we discovered it, was quite, at least for me, it was very eye-opening that this is exists. And we both have, I think, students studying in the Netherlands. And um, so again, Netherlands has, as we mentioned, they have the universities and the universities of applied sciences. You do need to do your research because doing a degree at the University of Applied Sciences, it does limit your ability to continue on to a master's. The ones we have shown here are all, proper research universities, so there's no issues with onward progression. Netherlands has this also concept of university colleges. So many of the regular research universities, within them, they house this thing called a university college, which acts as a small liberal arts and sciences college within that university. So while, let's say, at the University of Amsterdam, you may apply for a specific major and study that. If you apply for the university college within the university, you have the ability to go in and sort of, explore a bit more and then declare your major. So it works very more like the US system of education or a place like Ashoka University. So these are all liberal arts and sciences colleges. And so it just gives you that flexibility to also mix and match, majors, minors, things like that. So it is a really nice concept where it almost feels like you can have your cake and eat it too. So you have that flexibility, but you're also housed in a larger university and you have access to those resources. So the application process does tend to be a little different for university colleges. They do ask for a bit more of writing supplements and things like that. So, but that, and for those of you, I mean, I think Aditya, if you have kids in 12th grade who are looking to apply, Netherlands has a lot of programs don't have any sort of upper limit, and then you have these programs called numerous fixes, which do have limits on the number of seats, and so those tend to have a multi-part selection process. Some of the popular courses are, of course, I think everywhere it's like engineering and technology, but also we have students who routinely look at Netherlands for economics, especially at places like University of Amsterdam and Erasmus. So it is good for social sciences as well. Um,
Psychology or for anything actually.
yeah.
Uh,
Post-study, it is a good 1 year, stay back visa to look for employment. And again, uh, strong employment rates for recent graduates. And this 57%, is fairly high, especially when you compare it to some of the other places in Europe. So the data, is not consistently available, unfortunately, for many of these. So it does tend to be a mixed bag. But Netherlands does have strong industries in tech and engineering, and definitely, also in finance and banking and things like that. You do have, I mean, it's been in the news quite a lot with the housing shortages, but also the policy limitations, because I think driven by a little bit by the housing shortages. And Netherlands was one of those places that never had a cap on international students until all of this became an issue. And so um, there is, I think it's in, and I don't know, Sapna, you'll have to tell me if, I don't know if it's fully gone through. I mean, there are proposals for limiting the
right
international
now, they
student
haven't yet
intake.
capped it. They
Yeah,
were talking about it, they haven't yet capped it. And they are taking students right now.
yeah,
The other one, I mean, if you're looking at a university colleges are smaller bodies, 300 to
of course.
500
Yeah.
students only, and they are fully residential. So university college, if you get admitted to university college, you get your boarding. It's like a campus university then
Yeah.
experience.
And we are also aware of, because in the spaces we move in, the network for school counselors with universities, with some of these service providers is pretty strong. So we do know of companies that also help students with housing and things like that worldwide. So, if ever you guys run into any of those issues, just
The
like,
other thing, especially for Aditya, since he was saying I'm looking for something which is of my academic interest. The Netherlands is very interesting in terms of it offers some really niche programs. So like UCR, the University College there offers some very interesting stuff like tech plus psychology. So tech plus art and design. So it really offers some very, very interesting combinations. And yeah, I mean, when you look at Netherlands colleges, each one of them has some really interesting stuff that they're offering. So you can find some really niche programs there. Uh, and even though the university college is like a liberal arts college, it's not as open-ended as a US college. It is a liberal arts and science college, but it has usually has tracks. So so not very open-ended, but not close-ended either. So it's a nice mix of them. It's in the middle somewhere. And you'll have to see them separately to kind of figure out which one works for you.
oh,
Uh,
oh, do you want me to? I think go ahead.
Okay. So for Switzerland, of course, it is very, very well known, basically for its luxury hotel management, tourism management programs. It has the world leaders for those programs. Those programs, what I've also realized is that many of the hotel management schools also offer some excellent business programs. So if you'd like to look at a business program, that's also a good option there. There are engineering programs, there are good natural sciences programs, not that much in English at the undergrad level, more at the PG level. So at the postgrad level, yes, you will find much more of the engineering, tech, science programs. At the undergrad level, it's largely going to be the hotel management, tourism, um, luxury management, and other management programs. All right. Yeah, Switzerland, of course, has one of the tightest post-study work visa rules in Europe. It allows only for a 6-month residence permit, in which you have to then find a job. So if you're able to find a job in the 6 months, of course, then your company will put in the papers for you, and then you can stay. But if you're not, then you have to leave. The overall employment rate is high. It is a country which is very, very stable financially and economically, and is known to be safe and a good economy overall. So yeah, um, anything that we're missing out? Yeah, work permits are stringent and the cost of living is high. Yes, finding a job uh, uh, at the level that you need to kind of make it easy to live there. It's a little bit of a challenge. I know two kids who've completed the hotel managements there. Finding a job is not difficult. They've been able to find it. But better like salaries are not as good as they would hope for. So that is at least at the starting level. Yeah, I think we can move on. Okay, so Italy actually is it's again a great option, especially if you're looking at certain. So I'm going to skip the rest. I'm going to talk about certain colleges, right? So design and fashion, Italy has some really, really strong programs. Um, uh, uh, they're very, very good. Uh, they're uh, uh, they're also very strong at creating um, entrepreneurs in design and fashion. So that's good. They have a particular university, actually, the Bocconi, which is absolutely brilliant at finance and business programs. It does offer economics. It offers a lot of other programs, but definitely gold standard for business and finance programs. Um, Italy is also known for architecture and engineering programs. In Italy, you have to kind of um, do a little more deeper research. I was recently traveling with an Italian counselor, and one of the things that she said was that public universities in Italy are very, very reasonable. But you have to be a little careful because there is a little bit of a uh, attitude of lackadaisical kind of an attitude, laid back, in terms of how regularly will the classes be held and all of that. But most of these colleges which are private are absolutely brilliant. Um, the other thing that was quite a discovery for us in the last couple of years is how reasonable and how are well performing, high performing are the medicine programs in Italy. So one of the things about Italy is that all medicine programs are English taught. So even an Italian needs to take an English proficiency test to be admitted into the medicine program. So that means that the program is going to be taught in English completely. They are very reasonably priced as far as, I mean, medical programs go across the world. It is very difficult to get in. They have a NEET styled exam that is taken. If you're able to clear that, and India has centers and stuff, so you can, if you're able to clear it, it is a very good option in public universities. But there are also private universities in Italy which offer really good, reasonable medical degrees, which are very well accepted across the world. Can move on. Yeah, post-study visas are like similar to Switzerland. The overall employment rates are not that great. Italy is not a very strong economy in that sense, but you do have access to all of Europe. So you can find employers across Europe. Some of the I mean, if you've gone to a good university, hopefully it should not be a problem. Right? Fashion, luxury goods is a big industry there, finance, banking, automotive, technology, and IT. So those are the main industries in Italy. Okay. Then what we did was that we've kind of also summarized for you some of the other European countries and given you a couple of names in each. So Czech Republic has this wonderful universities. Charles University is one of the oldest in the world and highly ranked also. They have amazing medicine program, but they also have very good business, finance, economics, and many other programs which are taught in English. Masaryk, Czech University of Technology. So all of these that I've mentioned here are offering great programs at the undergrad level. Estonia actually was a big surprise for us. So I actually met one of my students' sisters who studied there, did computer science, actually went in to do something else, found that she was interested in cybersecurity and computer science, ended up getting a degree, has a wonderful job now, which is paying her very, very well. So it was a success story. And it seems to be one of those countries which is doing fairly well, has a lot of English taught programs now. We can go on to the next. Sweden, Uppsala University, Lund. So these are like more specific programs at the undergrad level. Some are in game design, some are for business and finance. When you look at Swedish universities, you will find that each university has a more specialized area. And in that specialized area, you will find a great program and at a very reasonable cost. They also have some decent scholarships. Finland, again, we've only mentioned two, but there are actually about 6 or 7 really strong universities in Finland, offer some undergrad degrees in English, quite a few, are pretty strong again in computer science, languages, social sciences, etc. Uh, Again, of course, a very strong, very safe country, very high standards of living, and employability is not that difficult because they are short of people. Belgium, especially KU Leuven, offers a couple of English taught programs and is ranked quite well. So as I've mentioned, business, engineering, social sciences. Vienna has a Central European University, has some really interesting social sciences programs. So in general, I think for wider Europe, if you're looking for medical programs, it's a great option. And then every country has their own specialized areas in which they're providing some really excellent programs that you can look at. And most of them come at about 1/4 or 1/5 the cost of a US degree, and at least 1/3 the cost of a UK degree. So that is really their advantage.
Yeah, I think, and one I think we will also add is Hungary. I mean, I was just thinking through
Yes,
because
good.
on and off we have students who have gone to these places, right? So I have a student studying medicine at University of Debrecen in Hungary, and her experience so far, she's in her third year, has been pretty positive. Pretty positive. I think with medicine, of course, there are things to keep in mind, which we can do a whole other session with somebody who's more of an expert in that space than we are,
Yeah.
if there's
And
enough interest. Yeah.
there's one more thing to add about Europe. So many times I've had students and especially parents kind of be very concerned about especially like countries like Netherlands because it's so easy to get in. I mean, they're always concerned like is the program good enough because it's so easy to get in. So one, it is not always very easy. So the numerous fixes programs do have couple of hoops that you have to cross. They often will ask you for interviews, written tests, and all of that. Some of them will have all of that. Actually, the philosophy in these countries is that everybody has a right to go to college. Okay, so at the entry level into when you're entering a college, the barriers are not very high because they say that it's a student's right to come to college. But when you transition from the first year to the second year, at that time the that transition is taken very seriously. So it is quite you require to work very very hard to clear your academic programs. It's not easy. So it is not, while it looks like it's easy to get in, you do have to put in a lot of work. The programs themselves are rock solid. And they do expect that the student is going to work extremely hard once they take admission into the program. So the transition from first year to second year is going to be quite challenging. Yeah. Ramya, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think this is a list of, some of the scholarships. I think sorry, where is that? Uh, so these are, these websites are a great place to start. These are the official websites. And so they often, and a lot of them will also host their own information sessions. So we do urge that, you maybe sign up if there is, something where you can get notified, or else just check out their upcoming events and things like that. Of course, we are going to, because we usually get to know of these and a lot of other events. And so that is something that I will nicely will segue to this, but it is
Great.
really, we have started collating these events that may be of interest to you guys, and we will be sharing it once in 2 weeks, or if there is more urgency, then if the event is happening right then and there, we'll just put it on the WhatsApp group. So please do, if you haven't already, join our WhatsApp community. And with that, we'll open it up for questions. And if you're able to, please just unmute and ask. I will leave this on the screen. Sharing the deck, yeah, and I think this entire
We'll share
recording
it on
we
the
will,
WhatsApp group, is it? We'll put it up in the WhatsApp group and they can access it from there.
sure, I think we'll do that.
Yeah. Or you want to do it on the website? I don't know.
So bear with us. We're still figuring out some of these logistical, administrative things, but yes, we'll share it. We'll also put up the recording,
Yeah, so
so
one is
that,
asking about pre-med programs in US. Yeah,
sure. Oh,
you want
I can take this. In fact, I just had a student who did his pre-med in the US, and he just got into Harvard Medical School, so we're very excited. But no, I think with one thing with medicine itself in the US is that we really don't recommend it for students who are not US passport holders, because even for US passport holders, and at this point, I personally have 4 nieces who just either are in medical school or just finished medical school. They're all US citizens. And I think even for US citizens, it is incredibly competitive. And if you go to Many of these medical school websites, they will outright tell you if you're an international student, really don't even apply kind of thing. If you are a US citizen and you want to eventually go to medical school, so a couple of things. Medical school in the US is a post-grad degree. So you do your 4 years of undergrad and then you go to medical school. Pre-med in the US is a set of requirements that you have to complete. It's not a degree as such. So the way it works is, and you can just even start by Googling this, and you can say it usually includes a certain number of credits that you do throughout your undergrad in things like, microbiology, biology, chemistry. There are 5 or 6 different requirements, core requirements, which also includes things like calculus. And then additionally, depending on, some universities, I forget which one, maybe Johns Hopkins, some medical schools require additional prerequisites, like you have to have taken one humanities course and things like that. So what most undergraduate institutions do is they have a pre-med track or a pre-med advisory. So the student can major in anything. Actually, you can even major in economics or art or design or whatever it is, as long as you're
Anything.
anything, as long as you complete those pre-med requirements. Of course, majority of kids don't do that. They do tend to major in either bio or chemistry typically. And then they complete their pre-med track during that. And of course, it's very important because the medical school application is so competitive that students start their profile building for medical school pretty much from day one that they're in. So what we say is, when you're looking at pre-med programs in the US, and because I do tend to work with lot of like US citizen students. I have every year at least 2, 3 kids who end up looking at that track. It is important to, and this data is very hard to find. I mean, and it's not always clear, but it's important to ask universities to, when you attend their information sessions, what their kind of support is for pre-med advising, what kind of success rates they have in terms of placement into medical schools. One often unlooked thing is actually small liberal arts colleges in the US, and we will do a whole session on the US if there's enough interest. Because there's so much to unpack there. But some of the small liberal arts colleges actually are very, very good pathways to medical school because they offer you that, sort of it because they're small
Advising.
colleges. The advising is very strong. The professor connect with, medical schools is strong. Your ability to do research and things like that is, more because you're not competing with small liberal arts colleges. The philosophy is you don't have masters or PhD programs. It's only undergrad. And so you are tapped, as an undergraduate student, you have access to research opportunities and things like that, that you're not competing with a lot of, master's students and things like that for. So hopefully that gives a little bit
So,
of
yeah.
info.
And if I could, since we're talking about emerging destinations, one of the way, if you are interested in the US, I mean, in making a medicine career in the US, one of the tracks that people take is the Caribbean. So
Oh,
there
yeah.
are colleges in the Caribbean islands which teach you, they prepare you for medical college entrance in the US. And they have a fairly decent success rate, and you could look at that. They are expensive though, but from day one you will get enrolled in medical college. You will study the proper everything. It'll be a 5 year, 6 year program, depending on which high school degree you have, like it's IB or A levels or the Indian program. But that option does exist, and they prepare you for the FMCGE, which is the exam which you need to take then to do your internship in US, and then you can go on to that track there. So that is one possibility that you can do. And also many even US citizens now have begun to go to medical schools in Europe, complete the degree there because that is accepted in the US, and then they find their way back into the US, which usually means about 2 years of internship. They have to go back to the US into it, but for many that does translate into a good option and a much cheaper option. Right. Any other questions?
First, a comment, I think. Thank you both. This was really useful. I've attended a session with Ramya before, which is more general. And I asked her about the Europe you walked us through all the different countries and their strengths. So that's really appreciated. I guess what I'm now I'm at a stage where I'm not sure. My child is probably still in the undecided major category. And it seems like, and she with 11th grade, so we have time to figure this out. But I'm trying to understand from these options, are there places which have maybe a little bit more flexibility for in the terms of the program, so that even if she's not sure after she enters, she's able to make some changes to what she's studying, perhaps. Um, and the other one is, again, I know that the university colleges in the Netherlands are kind of modeled on the liberal arts schools, but kind of like typically for these European universities, what are the class sizes? Because outside of the liberal arts, like universities in the US are just huge at the undergrad level. Is that also true for Europe, or are the European colleges, maybe universities, maybe smaller class sizes for
Yeah.
specific programs? And if it helps, we're really looking at the social sciences or design programs, things like psychology or entrepreneurship or business or management kind of programs. We're not sure where we land yet, though.
Yeah. So Satya, I think you've said it yourself. So Netherlands, the liberal arts colleges are great. I mean, the university colleges are great options. There are a couple of US style colleges or US campuses in Europe. So there's a Franklin College, there's a Forward College. There are a couple of those kind of colleges that exist. UK now has Northeastern. So these are some US colleges which are in Europe and UK, but by and large, you will not find much flexibility otherwise in European colleges. A couple of them will allow you to combine two programs, so psychology with tech, as I mentioned, psychology with political science. I've seen some really crazy combinations there, but they are not so open-ended. That's difficult to find. Actually, I was talking, in fact, to Northeastern in UK, because even though Northeastern is a US college and they are absolutely liberal in US, in UK they are not as liberal. And one of the very interesting things that they told was that it's because the UK government the visa requires you to put in what degree, what's your major.
Hmm.
So when the student comes in, with the visa has the major written on it. And so every time a student needs to change their major, it actually becomes an issue that needs to go to the visa agency back. So the college needs to
Okay.
do a lot of that hoop jumping. So I know for UK, that's the problem. Mm, Probably that's also the issue in other European countries, because there is that amount of flexibility is very difficult to find, except in these smaller colleges, private colleges that are there. And there are a couple of them there. The Franklin is a good one, actually, I've been told. They do an interesting program. Ramya, you want to add?
No, I think absolutely agree. I think you're looking then at branch campuses of US universities, US colleges, right? I think Bard is also there, right? Is in
Mm.
somewhere.
Yeah, Bard is there. Yes.
Switzerland, I think. Yeah.
Switzerland, yeah.
Okay.
He has had a
A quick
hand up.
follow-up on that then.
Yeah. Yes, Satya.
Sorry, can I just ask a quick follow-up?
Sure.
So specifically, if you could maybe give me some suggestions for where I should look. Like I said, she's interested in psychology, but she doesn't really want to go down right now. She doesn't really want to go down the therapy or counseling route. So so earlier I was hesitant to look at Europe because I felt that if she did go down that route, then language would be a barrier to pursue psychology in a non-English country. But given that that's not where her interests lie, maybe that's something. Maybe there are programs where she can do the psychology program, but then like go towards a different career, which is not really counseling or therapy. Maybe it's consumer research or things like that. Are there programs like that in parts of Europe that I could look into to help guide her?
Yeah, so I would really focus on Ireland and Netherlands in that case. Both of these
Okay.
countries would offer some excellent psychology programs and tracks that could be taken. Netherlands and university colleges will give her the option to kind of move in between economics, finance, marketing, business, stuff like that.
Okay.
And if you're looking at private universities, you could check out IE in Spain. They have
Okay.
psychology, marketing, those kind of programs that you can check. Anything else, Ramya, that you're thinking of?
No, I was trying to remember if Sciences Po has, I don't think, I mean, it
So I would
doesn't,
not for psychology.
Sciences Po
yeah,
does not.
it doesn't
They
have,
were at
yeah.
a university fair. I asked them. They did not have a
Yeah.
Yeah,
program for
yeah,
psychology.
because I just,
Bocconi has a
Um,
good
but
psychology
yeah,
program.
thank you.
Yeah. But I would not, I mean, I would
Sorry,
not.
your voice is breaking up.
See, Bocconi has a good program in psychology, but I would not consider it for, I mean, I would rather go with Ireland or Netherlands because
Yeah.
it's largely English speaking and it'll be simpler in
Hmm.
many ways to manage everything. Right? So,
yeah. And I
But
have a
in
student who
Netherlands, psychology
actually,
is a fixes program, right? They have limited
yes, it
yes,
seats
is.
for
yes,
psychology.
Yes.
yeah. But I have a
Yeah.
student who just graduated
Okay.
from uh, either Utrecht or Maastricht and in
Utrecht is an amazing
psychology.
program. Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Mm.
and
Then
I,
do I.
yeah, and what was really lovely, I think, was, for her, I think also just the general student experience and the advising and everything that
That's
came,
very
just the student life was so good for her, at least at the
Okay.
university college, and I think that was nice to hear. I think.
yeah.
Is there a way that I could connect my daughter with your ex-student? Would you be able to look into that?
Yeah, I'll just ping her
Just a
and
thought.
I'll see. I think some of these
That'll be
kids
great.
will
Thank you
do.
so much.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think Ashi's had
Yes,
their
Yes.
hand for long.
Thank
So, yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes.
we can.
Hello, I just completed my 12 boards and I'm doing bachelor's and I want to do bachelor's in biotechnology from India, but I want to do my master's in Europe. So I was wondering, like, does the college I go into for bachelor's matters a lot?
Where have you gone? Where have you done your bachelor's from?
No, I
No,
will
she's in
do.
12.
Okay.
So
Oh, okay, you're in 12. Sorry, I
yeah.
wasn't listening, obviously. I think yes and no. So as long as it's an accredited degree, um, I think you should be fine. But what kind of like how competitive, what kind of a college are you considering for the master's?
Okay, so
You
like
have
if
college in
I, yeah. If I go into for my bachelor's in India, like if I consider, let's say, MIT, so would that matter like for my master's? Would that set me back?
and did you say, Ashi, what kind of a master's are you looking for? Are you looking at MBAs? Are you looking at what?
My master's would be in biotechnology. Yeah.
Okay. Ramya, do you have any
No, I
thoughts on that?
don't. I mean, I think I don't think so. I think it really depends. You know, I think it would depend on your performance during, in the master's. I mean, in the bachelor's program. Uh, but I mean, I think as long as it's accredited and it's where it where it might make a difference is really your if if the master's program has selections that involve technical interviews and stuff, like some of these places, even at a bachelor's level, we see that the interviews are really, I mean, they can be really hard, right? If you take like an Equal Polytechnic or this EPFL in Switzerland. I mean, I have students who got into some very hard to get into places but weren't able to crack these interviews, and I think that's where if your undergrad preparation isn't that strong, that can make a difference, and of course your assimilation into a university. I think bottom line is, if you it does matter to some extent, right? And never as much as you think. I think.
I think adding a research experience in your undergrad would be critical,
Yes.
especially for a biotech
Mm.
program.
Yeah.
So any college which is going to allow you to do some research work at the undergrad level would be very important. Actually, just for your knowledge, Shulini University is offering a grade 2+2 biotech program with University of Melbourne. In case you are still looking, probably you should at least check it out. And there are those kind of options that are being offered. Also, I think colleges like Manipal main campus, like those are the colleges which have some really strong biotech programs. And I'm
Mahindra as
personally
well.
Mahindra. I'm personally not so aware of the Amity program and how strong it is. But yeah, as Ramya mentioned, cracking the topmost ones is going to be challenging for anyone. So you need to work, you need to have some research experience. I think that is going to be the most critical part. Uh,
Okay, thank you.
There was a question here about Aditya. I'm really interested in pursuing research in my undergrad, but I would still like to be able to have a normal corporate career. Are there universities which would give me the flexibility to somewhat be able to stay on both paths? Ramya, want to take that?
Specific to Europe?
I think so. I don't know. Aditya, are you asking specifically about Europe or? Specific to Europe? Okay. Yeah. Uh, okay. So when you're saying a regular corporate career, but also, and I'm assuming you're looking at, are you looking at finance? Are you looking at management? Is there a, when you say corporate career, do you mean like a finance kind of a career?
Okay, finally my mic unmuted. I'm not sure what happened, but yeah. So mostly just on the side of math and maybe a bit of statistics research, perhaps towards the more finance side, towards data analysis and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I would say, I mean, I think almost any good university should be able to, I mean, you shouldn't have to choose between the two. So you should be able to get some research experience and be prepared for the corporate career would largely mean some internships and you get some kind of some amount of job experience there on your resume. And that should be possible with any decent university. Ramya, what do you say?
Yeah, and I think what we hear from universities routinely is that, in order to set yourself up well for a placement especially in Europe, in addition to, trying to find internships, building those skills through, because a lot of them do offer, they have clubs, they have activities, professional activities as well. And so getting involved in those from a skill building standpoint, and also being, just going out of your way to learn the language, even if you don't need it for your studies, if you're in an English taught program, that can be a big benefit in terms of, of placement. And
Networking and social, social
yeah,
nicety, all of that. Yeah.
yeah. I think research opportunities, I mean, I actually, to be honest, I think within the university, I don't know how much access you have to it at the undergrad level in Europe. Sapna, you
Uh,
might have a better
yeah, I
sense. I
think
don't.
no, it is so there it is available, Ramya. It is actually quite strong.
Hmm.
Depends of course on what colleges you're looking at. So if you were looking at data science and math and statistics, which any colleges which are coming to your mind, Ramya? Any particular one that you'd like to talk about?
In Europe? I mean, the
Yeah,
ones that are good at math, so you'll have all your Netherlands options, right? You have University of Amsterdam, Erasmus. You
Trinity would
have,
be good.
oh yeah, Ireland. I think Ireland has such, I mean, actually amazing, like solid options. Price is a bit high,
And
but
even I think maybe Bocconi and stuff would be decent.
yeah. So yeah, Bocconi has, I mean, I've had students do economics there, but it's been a good
Yeah,
experience. I don't know if
their
they did
match program
research.
is
Is
pretty
it's
strong.
hmm.
They do. So they have a decent, strong undergrad research program actually.
Hmm.
Yeah, so those you would have to look at them and see. But I don't think there should be an either or here. As long as you get the research bit in the undergrad, so that is what you need to kind of search when you're choosing a college, how much of research, undergrad level research is available, and then the rest will fall into place if you are, as Ramya said, join the professional clubs and do a bit of that. Uh, Ramya, the earlier question that we'd been asked about the geopolitical situation, I think we should just take that up now.
Yeah. Um, I mean, uh, it's a hard call,
So
right?
can
I mean,
I
I
start?
don't.
I mean, I have two kids. One is in US, one is in Canada, and every day I'm looking at, wondering whether it was a good choice and if I would have done it if they were going to college this year or the next year, right? I think what at least and in this you will find that every person you speak with will have different opinions because it's largely a perspective and an opinion matter. Um, there is no hard facts or hard truths which can really define this. I think what I would say, and this is what I'm saying to my students now, that if you find value in the program itself, if you think that the undergrad experience is going to be really rich and is going to be really useful for you, then go for it. Don't base your decision on the post work, will you be allowed to stay or not? So if you find that the program is good enough and that the experience is good enough and that you can afford it, uh, um, and even if you need to come back, you would have gained a lot, go for it. But if it's only dependent on whether I'm going to be able to stay, then I'm afraid none of us have a crystal ball. We really can't say what's going to happen in the future. There are some really temperamental politicians sitting uh, in the offices right now. So I don't think any of us can say that. I do know that since my daughter's in Canada and there was so much rubbish happening about Canada last 1.5 years, but on the ground there was nothing. Like she did not face any discrimination. She's finding internships and jobs. It's not as bad as it looks on media. Right. But that said, jobs economies are slowing down. We are in a lower period. It's not only true of US or UK or anywhere, it's true of India too. We are slowing down, and finding a job today in any economy is challenging. If you're an international student, it is definitely going to be more challenging. Uh, if there are hoops like in the US about the H1 visa and all of that, it is going to add problems. So we have to be prepared that there are going to be problems later, especially if you're wanting to stay back. But if the quality of education is good enough and if you can afford it, by all means, go for it. That's my two bits. Ramya, your perspective.
Yeah, no, I think I completely agree. I think so much of it is a personal choice. And I think even when we talk to universities, right? I mean, this is something that we routinely meet with universities. And even like, for example, what's happening now in the US with all these sort of diktats coming to the universities from the government, I think even the deans, when they come, or the vice chancellors of the universities, they're like, they're on a wait and see mode. And the important thing to remember is also the economic performance. Economies are cyclical, right? And so I started my two previous careers at times of absolute like downturn. I graduated, I was in the tech industry when the dot-com bubble burst. I had just joined finance when the recession hit. And I think, luckily or whatever, neither times I got laid off. But I mean, some of that was just dumb luck. But I'd like to think some of it was also you kind of position yourself as someone invaluable. Some part of it is in your control, and largely a lot of it isn't. But that's something you can't necessarily say right now, what's going to happen 6 years or 4 years from now. So, but yeah, if you have family in places or friends, then that adds that kind of at least the comfort for you guys. Okay, it's 7:45. Sorry, for me it's 7:45. It's like I'm sitting in the
Yes,
US, so the timing is a little off. But thank you so much for joining us, and please do, join our WhatsApp group, and we will hopefully see some of you or many of you on the 14th at the same time for the part 2 of Emerging Destinations, where we'll cover the East. So thank you so much, everyone.